Hello, my name is Stephane Sisse. I'm in charge of sales at Abeeway and Activity, and I'm happy to welcome you on this webinar. Let me inform you that questions are activated and the event is recorded. Please specify for who your question is, and all questions will be answered at the end of this session. So we are very happy today to welcome Sebastian, CEO of SmartMakers, Guillaume de Menou, Sales Manager at Zozio, Jérémy MARTY, CEO at NomoSense. We are here today to talk about the tracking of returnable and reusable supply chain assets, which is currently a growing subject in the world of logistics. I've been personally working for Abeeway, a leader in IoT tracking device and activity group, the IoT network specialist, for nearly 6 years. And I've seen maybe thousands of use cases like this. Typically, I am one of the biggest brands in the world in cosmetics, and I want to follow my boxes or products. I want to see if it has been delivered to the shops, inform them if the shipping is late, control if they send the box back. I want to follow my reusable palette because there is extremely expensive champagne on it, and I want to know if it's at the customer side now. I am an airplane manufacturer. I have very expensive equipment and tools. I can't have one of these tools per site. So I want to be able to follow and find my boxes of equipment, wherever they are, in every site they could be. I'm a supermarket, and I'm losing my roles between the warehouse and the supermarket. I would like to know if it's in the supermarket in Paris or in Lyon. I'm a laundry company, and I want to know if any of my roles also has been forgotten in one of the customers' hotels, because when I'm counting them, there is missing few. So that's all challenge our customers have been facing. And then happens the big question, what's the cost? What's the return on investment? What's the solution? Today, the technologies like LoRaWAN, technology which can be compared with Wi-Fi, I would say, but nearly doesn't consume device battery, and provide a coverage with one antenna of several kilometers, enable you to have a real return on investment and to build very low cost and smart solution. You can, with some trackers like ours, track the box, but not for one trip, because it's maybe for 10 years, which means hundreds of trips. As you understand, more trips, more return on investment. The box arrived in the factory of the warehouse. It's not finished. Then you can localize it outdoor or indoor very accurately. And instead of having a worker seeking during 20 minutes the right box, he will get it immediately. Many people ask us, what about the infrastructure? Most of the time, the infrastructure is extremely simple. Of course, it can use public network or a mix of public and private network. But often, you simply need one LoRaWAN gateway in each site, and that's totally enough. After all, what you need is to know where is the box. Has it been arrived? No, the pallet is not here. It's on the highway. There is a lot of ways of getting a strong return on investment by tracking returnable assets today. And I will immediately pass the mic to our speakers to explain you how. Sebastian, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stephane. Okay, so yeah, good evening and maybe even good morning to everyone listening to our little webinar here. My name is Sebastian Stute. I'm the CEO of SmartMakers. We are an IoT solution provider, providing end-to-end solution to companies in different industries. We serve today 216 customers and monitoring over 100,000 critical assets with our platform called ThingsHub, IoT tracking platform. As you can see from this little chart, there are well-known companies trusting in our solution, like Opel, Mercedes-Benz, and MAN. And what I'd like to show you today is what we think is one of the biggest industrial use cases where IoT can really help and provide a quick benefit and return on investment. The agenda is, I'd like to first of all bring everyone on the same level on what we identified with our current customers as the top 3 challenges in returnable pallet and asset tracking. I'd like to show you in a second what are the advantages of an IoT solution, and finally I'd like to show you a few information on one of our customer success stories from a German window manufacturer. And then to bring like the important part first is we think that in the future it's not about controlling the suppliers and retailers, it's more about controlling the return of the assets and have transparency about what their suppliers and retailers are really doing. All right, the challenges of returnable transport systems, as our customers explain, are the following. So what we started with is let's first quickly say what are returnable assets, what do we define as returnable assets. These are load carriers, these are reusable plastic boxes, IBC containers, pallets, CACs, everything that is very good to transport or being used in transports multiple times and improving sustainable aspects of the whole logistic flow from our customers. Typically, the returnable transport loop is a loop between several factories from the customer and their suppliers, or from our customer with their suppliers, and then from our customer to their own customers. And in these 2 loops, the logistical managers are suffering from 3 top challenges that I'd like to show you, which is number 1, very time-consuming inventory management. So what you see here is that it's completely clear that everyone wants to be aware of, so what's the stock at my pool in the factory, so what is currently being delivered to our supplier, which load carriers or pallets are being delivered to the supplier, what is the stock our supplier ABC have, does he have enough stock so that he can deliver what we have been ordering from him, and so that delays can be prevented. And all of this is taking a lot of time from the people involved into these processes, and this is what leads to a big problem that IoT can solve. Number 2 problem or challenge is to prevent delays in the operation. So key questions are there any delays in the delivery from our suppliers to us? Is there enough parts delivered, or are there any delays in parts of the delivery? Can we deliver in time and quantity to our customers? All of this take a lot of time and eat up a lot of workforce to be done. And so it is, maybe it's what you can call a challenge, maybe you can call it even a result of the 2 challenges before. So the missing transparency, what is what I often hear from the people we speak with, our customers we speak with. So it's very hard for them to really know if the supplier call and say, okay, we do not have enough load carriers at the moment in stock, you need to deliver more load carriers so that we can deliver more parts to you. If this is really true, or if someone is just missing that there are still 150 load carriers at the suppliers, site and delivery could go on. Or it's the same into the direction of the customers. So our own customers are suffering to retrieve the information. Has everything being delivered in time? Or if there are questions from their own customers, what is going on? Why is something not delivered? There is a lot of work that our customers need to spend to really understand what's going on and have the right transparency. And if you now take all of this as the main challenges on the returnable asset or returnable tracking system, you would ask yourself, why are the current technologies like RFID or ultra-wideband real-time localization system can't answer most of the question? And the answer is pretty simple, because for RFID or real-time localization, you always need extensive infrastructures with readers and gateways that can be installed or have to be installed within your own infrastructure, so your own factories and facilities, and which is very hard to be installed and operated on the supplier. But the main problem is that most of the time your assets are moving outside of your infrastructure. And what you can see even from the bulbs here, from the little clouds, is that a lot of these questions are also or can only be answered by monitoring what's going on outside of your infrastructure. And this is where we think the IoT tracking and tracing approach has a big advantage to the current technical solutions. Because if you look at the current technical solution on the left, you see that the known approach mostly require a lot of infrastructure so that RFID tags or BLE tags can be collected and the information can be given to the cloud or legacy applications, whereas the IoT approach is all about a plug-and-play installation of a smart device, or an asset tracking device that itself can send the information to your applications. It can decide how to communicate with your application using private networks or public networks. So no infrastructure is required. And with the latest development of LPWAN technologies, there's really a long battery lifetime. And so it's a high and fast return on invest operating such applications. If you look at the automation possibilities, it's also clear that because most stuff is going outside of your infrastructure, that the automation level is lower than 60% in the known approach, where the new IoT approach allow to nearly automate 100% of every interaction that is going on between you, your suppliers, and your customers. And so automation is finally the key for a very efficient organization. IoT tracking also allows to really work everywhere, so not just outdoors. And this is where there's also a big difference from an IoT tracker to a very known GPS tracker, because the IoT tracker allow to track outside when something is outside of your buildings and factories, but it also allows to track indoors without any additional infrastructure. So with the current technology, technology from Abeeway, technology from other providers in this space, allow to really get a location no matter where your asset currently is, if it is outdoor, indoor, or in transit. And we bring all of this together in the Everywhere location engine, which is deeply integrated into our platform. And all of this is also working at suppliers and at customers without any infrastructure. So summarizing this or comparing the current solutions with the IoT solution approach, show very easily that with the current technical approach, and please don't get me wrong, I think finally I'm very much convinced that the right approach is a hybrid approach using RFID and IoT asset tracking in combination. At least this is something that we do with a lot of our customers. But the IoT asset tracking has especially lots of advantages in the returnable material tracking scenario, because it can track indoor, outdoor, and in transit. It can monitor the conditions while your assets are in transport. It can detect impacts and temperature alerts, and it can be used if the logistical process is changed, unchanged. So if the logistical process change, it can still be used without any modification to the application. And so no additional infrastructure is required, and the deployment time is much faster than what an RFID or BLE project typically requires. And if you look at the total visibility, you also see that the total visibility, especially in returnable material tracking, is much higher than from today's solution. Looking at the full picture, not just at the visibility of your own factories, really looking at the visibility wherever you serve your products with whoever you are working together, whatever is your supplier. Quick customer success story. So we have been working for the past 2 years with one of the top Windows manufacturers here in Germany, delivering globally their Windows. And one of the requirements, or one of the must-haves in their delivery, is their specific load carrier that you can see on the right side. And all windows and frames are being delivered using the load carriers to the construction site. And so there is a permanent loop between the construction sites, the production sites, and the logistical companies involved. And they had a big problem in the past, especially a big visibility problem on one hand, and a big losing these load carriers problem before they started installing an IoT solution, or our IoT solution. And the results are that we managed, together with the customer, to roll out a few thousand load carriers with tags from Abeeway. In the first week of the rollout of the system, we managed to integrate the location data into their primary system to operate the fleet. It was a pretty quick rollout that have been done initially for the first phase, and the system is accepted among the employees very much because it's very easy to use for them, and it's bringing a lot of transparency and saving a lot of efforts on their workforce. So the final results after 3 months were that the visibility was increased by 47% to nearly 100%. The inventory efforts could be decreased to 1/3 of the original time. So originally they were speaking about 21 to 23 minutes that they are spending into inventory management per asset per month. And in general, they could also improve their loss rate of load carriers because now they know where they are and they can directly call the customer and get back their own load carriers. So I hope that was interesting for you. I hope I could bring in some insights for you. If you are interested in such a solution, give us a call after the webinar. And I'd like to hand over with these words to the next speaker.
Thank you. Just to introduce myself, I'm Guillaume. I'm the sales manager of Zozio. Today we are going to talk about returnable assets in the cosmetic area. So just to give you a few information about Zozio, we were created in 2018. We are now 15 members in Paris. And we aim to be like 40 by the end of the year, because we recently raised 4 million euros to accelerate our development. So that's a great news for us. So here are some of our partners. So you can see that in the cosmetic industry, we are working with L'Oréal and LVMH. We're gonna talk about LVMH today because we are working with Activity and Abeeway. We're also working in the car manufacturer industry with Faurecia and Renault. We are also working in the aerospace industry with Daher, with Safran, and we are also working with provider of technologies and integrators of our solution. So in a few words, why was Zozio created? It's because we saw 4 main pain points in the industrial world today, 4 difficulties. The first one is a difficulty to have a complete traceability of what's going on inside the shop floor, inside the factory, but also outside the factory. We observed that today there is a lot of differences between the reality on the shop floor and the information you have on your ERP or WMS. There is differences because when an operator is doing like a wrong task or putting an asset in the wrong place, the ERP cannot know it because it's based on informatical information and no information from the ground. So it makes that you have to do inventories on a weekly basis, monthly basis, depending on your business, and it's a big loss of time. Also, we estimate that in the industry, an operator is losing around 1 hour a day looking for something. It can be an asset, it can be a container, it can be a tool, a forklift also. So that's a big problem. And the goal of everything is to make sure that the delivery on the production line or the assembly line is good. Because if the assembly line is stopping for 1 minute, it can cost 10,000 of euros. For instance, in the automobile manufacturing industry, 1 minute delay in a production line can cost around $50,000 per minute. So to answer this problem, Zozio created a solution named Robin. The solution is working in 3 steps. So an indoor and outdoor tracking system. So I want to precise here that Zozio is not an hardware manufacturer. We are buying the best hardwares on the market, and depending on the use case of our clients, we are choosing a specific hardware for a specific use case. So we are working with Abeeway, for instance, and Activity. We are working with other providers of other technologies. We are working with Bluetooth, with RFID, with UWB. So there is no limit for us in terms of hardware technology. So when you have the good hardware technology and the good data collection from the shop floor, the idea is to link this information with the information you already have on your softwares. I mean, there is few interests in telling you that the tracker number 22 it's at this location. There is an interest, but it's quite limited. I will tell you instead that the tracker 22 is on the container number 69. That container has in real time 100 pieces of this reference or 100 liters of this reference. It's destined to this client. So it's to gather all the information in one place, and this place is our platform. So how does it work? Basically, we analyze the needs, we choose the technology, we manage a project, we deploy the project, and we monitor as a service the solution. So in the cosmetic environments, we identified three main troubles, we will say. The lack of real-time visibility, the delay to look for a tank, and the long and time-consuming inventories. So that the three findings we made. So Zozio platform is working like in three ways, or three steps. The first one is to have a view on real time of what's going on. The second step is to analyze every movement and to be able to have a bit more profound information. I mean by that we are going to do stock analysis, flow analysis, and to analyze everything that's going on, but not in real time. It's just the second time is time of analysis. So, for instance, with LVMH, we saw various needs to address. So the first is like really basic geolocation, and it's linked to the first step of Zozio possibilities. So it's to give the location, to make a follow-up of the containers, and to trace that containers. The second one is corresponding to the second step of Zozio platform, is to integrate other data that are not linked with geolocation. For instance, if you want to monitor your production capacities, you have to include the mobile tanks, but also the fixed tanks to have a global view on your possibilities of production. We integrated other information like the maceration time, the residue management, the expiry days, and the sizing of the tanks. So how does it work? The solution. So for this project, we use the Abeeway compact tracker for three main reasons. The first one, it's GPS location possibilities. It's LoRaWAN connectivity that allow to have a very small consumption of battery. And one of the main reasons we use this captor was the ATEX characteristics. ATEX means that ATEX area are explosives areas. So to work in an explosive environment, you have to work with ATEX IoT, for instance. So in this case, for perfumes and tanks, we had to use ATEX. So how does it work? A QR code is printed from the ERP, is collocated on the tank. On the tank is also the tracker, and the operator is just flashing the tracker and the QR code to make them connected and to know which tracker is on which tank and what is the information of this tank. What's the type of information we are gathering? It's the type of product, the type of juice, in this case. It's the quantity, if it's 1,000 liters or 5,000 liters, or also. It's the reference of the juice, it's the destination, and there is several others information that we are collecting at this point. So after making this connection between the information of the ERP and the location, we are going to provide a number of services that allows LVMH to have a better management, day-to-day management of the tanks, and then to have a better analysis of what's going on. So the first application, it's traceability. So it's really giving you real-time location. So you have a map. You can see on the map that you have a tank in various locations. It's giving you the history of each tanks. For instance, on the picture on the hand, you can see that there is a few important steps in the moving of the tanks, and for each of this important step, you have the hour, the date, the hour, and the status of the tank in this step. So it allows you to do real-time inventories because you know what's inside the tanks in real time. So you can just do a real-time inventory by clicking on a button. And the idea is to create a digital twin of the production between subcontractors and the main factories. So the first gain of time is searching. It's basic. So we gain a lot of time searching thanks to this tool. It also allows to meet the safety standards of monitoring. So you can trace back everything that went on with your tanks for several months to be able to track everything. So the next thing is tank fleet management. So here it's to gain time on the operational level. For instance, when your tank is arriving at a supplier or subcontractor, you want to be able to know in one eye contact where is everything, but you also want to gain time sending alerts to your subcontractors or other plants to tell them to send back your tanks. So we put like some alerts in our system, and after, depending on the client, but after 72 hours or 86 hours of presence of a tank in your supplier, an email is automatically going to be generated to ask them to send back the tank. It also allows you to know the rates of the use of the tanks. Certain type of containers like tanks are quite expensive, and there is no information today on the use of these tanks. So if I'm using the tanks 50% of the time, 80% of the time, so that was an information that didn't exist in this case, and we created and we are providing this information. So the results are an improved monitoring, a gain of time, and the optimization of the number of the tank in the fleet, because if you know exactly the use of each tank, you can make that your fleet is better sized, and so gain money on the size of your containers with this system. We are also including the washing management and maintenance of the tanks. So we can do the management of periodic rechecks, management of HSE and RDR statuses, alerting and anticipating the next maintenance dates, and counting the number of cycles. every of those four information are linked between them. So when while counting the cycles, we know that we have to do a maintenance on the tank every 20 cycles, something like that. So it's going to be automatically generated and put on the calendar after 18, for instance, 18 cycles to warn you that it's going to be to be maintained. So better quality, time saving, and better management of the washing. So production planning also, we can manage the FIFO and the LIFO with this system. We can integrate the use by date to make sure that we are not going to lose some product because we didn't see that the date of use was near the end, and to know exactly what is available for production and what it's not. I can know in real time which of my tanks are empty, which one are full, which one are empty but dirty, empty but clean. So I have the full visualization, and I can organize my production with this information. There is less product loss with this management, time saving also, and less tank immobilization. So the last one is production and management optimization. So, for instance, create exclusion zones. For instance, the washing area is an exclusion zone. If a tank is going in the washing area with some product inside, we are doing an alert inside the shop floor. There is a light to say that this tank has not to be washed because he has some product inside. Dashboard for managing the tanks, visualization and production of stocks. So the gains are production gain and quality gain again. Sorry, I'm going to be fast. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. I will leave now Jérémy speaking, and thanks everybody for your time.
Okay, thanks, Guillaume. First of all, thanks to Activity for this webinar organization. It's a great opportunity for us to explain you what we can provide and speak about the asset tracking use case, which is really interesting. So to present myself, I'm Jérémy MARTY, CEO of NomoSense. NomoSense is a company that I created 5 years ago. We are part of Nomotech Group, which is a group specialized in telecommunication, which can provide different services in terms of LTE, in Wi-Fi, and now in IoT. We are working for a customer like the RATP in France, Choro, which would be the example of this use case, or EFIA, or big customer like that. We are working a lot in the city too to provide smart city solution. So we have a good experience in terms of IoT. Our service portfolio is dedicated in 4 parts. We have a geolocation part, which is a historic part, and the interest of this discussion, of this webinar. We have a counting and flow analysis part, more for tunnel counting. We have specific services with that. We also have all the classical one with environment, which is more classical in IoT, and dedicated services for people safety using Abeeway trackers also. So for the next part, we will focus on geolocation, of course, and more specifically on asset tracking. What we are providing at NomoSense is end-to-end solution. So we are not manufacturer of materials, so we are working with people like Abeeway. Same on connectivity, we are able to provide 4G, 3G connectivity, LoRa public, LoRa private, which is very interesting. And we are also working on LTE-M or NB-IoT, which is one of the future of the IoT. But LoRa is today our main activity. So we are working with Activity and Abeeway since 4 or 5 years now, I think. So when we understood the sensors and the connectivity parts, we will have more add value on the visualization and alerting parts, because we developed a specific platform to manage all the devices and manage all the connectivity. The objective is to have in one unique platform all the management, including all the different technology which can be provided by Abeeway and Activity. So this is what we try to work every day. Today, so we will spoke about this question: how to optimize and control the sending and receiving of boxes from suppliers at a national level. So today we manage through our platform more than 3,000 Abeeway trackers. So we have a good view of the functionalities and the asset tracking we can provide with this kind of technology. Here is an example of the road which an asset tracker can be follow in France, because we have good LoRa coverage, and it helps us to ask a lot of different questions which are asked by our customer. The first one is, how do I know my equipment location? So thanks to the map, we are able to locate quickly an asset on a world map or on a local map, depending of the technology and the architecture we are using. How long my equipment is at my supplier? So the first idea to track asset was to know where the equipment are, but also how long they stay in a specific place, because sometimes our customer have add value boxes which are really expensive, so they try to optimize the number of these boxes to have cost management solution. So if a box is staying too long at a specific place, they can call the supplier and ask them to send it back to the main warehouse. The next step is to know how long will it take to the boxes to arrive at my supplier. This kind of services is needed a few feedback, because we need to have some specific algorithm to know how long it takes for the previous boxes to follow a specific route, and then we are able to extrapolate the data and to have average time travel of the equipment, to tell to the customer, okay, we will send you boxes, it will be in your warehouse in 2 days, and it can generate some alert or notification to inform the supplier or the people in charge of management to know where the boxes are right now. And the last services, which is a new one, is sometimes when the add value boxes arrived at supplier or customer warehouse, there are some impact because the transport was not very good, and we use the shock detector inside the Abeeway tracker to know where was the problem. It can help to improve after the quality of services and to not lose the material inside the box. So it's the first step how we build this kind of services in terms of asset tracking. To speak about architecture, we are using a mix of Bluetooth and GPS. The idea to mix this kind of technology is to improve two things. The precision in terms of indoor and outdoor, as you see previously in the previous presentation. We are all using this both technology to mix indoor and outdoor. We have between 3 and 5 meters of precision with Bluetooth inside the warehouse, and after when we are working with outdoor GPS, we have the GPS precision like a smartphone or any other GPS asset trackers. So this is really interesting for our customer to mix these two technology, because we have different kind of precision, and specifically we are working sometimes in tunnel and we can't catch any GPS signal. So BLE is a really interesting technology to install few beacon it is really simple to install because it's a little box. So it's a really good thing. Then the idea is to mix these two technology is to improve battery life, because GPS is need more power than Bluetooth. So, for example, if your boxes are inside your warehouse for 2 days or 3 days, you don't need to know or to use the GPS and to consume too much battery. So BLE is really adapted for that, and we really try to improve battery life with this kind of technology. And then when we catch the data to know where the tracker is, the connectivity will be sent through LoRa network. So we are using public or private for the specific use case where we are working with, which is to track at national level. We are more using public network, of course, but we will see at the end of the presentation that private network can be helpful. And at the end, our customer can have a global view on our platform directly to manage the connectivity, the asset, and to manage the final data of all the statistics and indicators. So to focus on our customer example, we are working with Shoro, which is a major refrigerated bodies manufacturer. So the idea is to send add-value boxes with some equipment inside to different warehouses. And with that, they can answer to all the questions we spoke in the previous slide. And they can have a live view of the stock of each boxes in each warehouse. They can have a view of the route and the time travel between all the warehouse to have a view of crash detection alert, etc., etc. They improve every day the architecture. We are help them to install beacon and this kind of equipment to improve battery, to improve precision location, and it's a really good use case to asset tracking, because the demand they have is the same of every customer, which have important asset to track and to monitor. And to finish, we are currently working to add the LoRa roaming to asset tracking services. The idea is to improve again the battery life and the precision. The difficulty we can have with this kind of services is sometimes when we want to track a good at a national level, we lost the signal because of white area. So we now integrate sync packet exchange to mix private and public network. It will add two important parts. We can add a coverage in specific area where a customer construct a warehouse and there is no public LoRa coverage. And the second one is better is the LoRa coverage, better is the battery lifetime. So with this kind of services, we are also able to improve lifetime of the trackers. And we can install compact trackers, for example, for few years and track the goods like that. To propose all the services we are able to provide through our platform. So I think I'm good for the presentation. We spoke about the architectures, the roaming, etc. So I think, Stephane, you can now manage all the question and answer.
Thank you, Jérémy. Yes, absolutely. So let's start with a question. So do not hesitate to put your question in the chat and we will be happy to answer. Please specify for who your question is. I will start first. I see that Richard and Sean have nearly the same question about LoRa coverage and how do we track assets all time. So I will just go back to one of my first slides here to explain you how it works. So first of all, usually you often do not need to track all the time your pallet, typically. You need to know when it left your office, when it left the warehouse, and when it's at your other sites, okay? So the goal, if your pallet is on the highway, it's not very interesting information. What you want to know is it's arrived. So a lot of time, having or only private network or a mix of public and private can be sufficient. You are leaving the warehouse, private network, on the way, public network if it's needed, if there is, of course, and private network when it's arrived also. Maybe then you will ask me, what about if I absolutely need to track during the transport, even on the highway, pallet? That can happen. That can be the case for very sensitive objects or equipment. And in this case, you're true. You are asking about cellular connectivity. It could be the public cellular connectivity, but it will be always a mix. We recommend them to have a mix of LoRaWAN and cellular, because LoRaWAN will always consume a lot less than cellular. So typically you will have the same system, as I said, at the beginning and at the end, a private network, which will enable you to locate inside the building, to know that it's well arrived and to follow when it's moving a little. And during the transport, maybe you will use cellular. So that will be the case. But again, today, most of the use cases are fine with private to private network. And again, as said, Jérémy, we today have the LoRaWAN roaming enabled. So it's a possibility that it's offered today by this kind of connectivity. Next question for you, Sebastian. Comparison of RFID, BLE, and IoT tracking. What can you say about cost comparison?
That's a very good question. So thank you very much. I would say that, or not, I would say it is whatever we do for our customers is being calculated against the ROI. And if you look at an initial investment required for an RFID, BLE, or IoT tracking solution, the hardware required is mostly only 25 to 30% of the overall investment, because there's much more to do. There is a project to do, there are interfaces to do, there are operating costs. And from what we experience with our own customers, where RFID is finally exploding in cost, even if the tech costs are much lower than the ones from the active IoT trackers, is the infrastructure and operating the infrastructure. So you have to do the installation of all the gateways, you have to manage and train people on operating these gateways, you have a single point of failure with the gateway and scanning approach. And all of this is being eliminated with the IoT approach. I don't want to say that the IoT approach is the holy grail for all and everything, but I think especially for returnable asset tracking, it is the best solution currently on the market, delivering the fastest ROI, and with a good mix of private and public network, LoRaWAN, which offer you the capabilities even to invest in your own infrastructure once, and do not have any connectivity costs at all, only have connectivity costs for wherever you are using a public network or using cellular network. It gives you so much possibilities to really have a very cost-effective tracking and tracing solution.
Tell me more about battery lifetime. Who wants to answer that?
Yes, I can. It really depends on which technology you're using, of course, but it also depends on the use case. Depending on the project, sometimes you want to geolocate once per day or once per hour, or geolocate when you are moving, or geolocate when you stop to move. So it really depends on the use case and the technology. If we are talking about Abeeway tracker, it can be more than 5 years easily. Then depending on the technology, depends on the answer. But I don't know if Sebastian, you want to add something, but it can be between I don't know, 4 and 20 years, depending on how you configure the hardware at the beginning of the project.
Yeah, and I think the most important answer that we as the IoT solution expert should give is that battery lifetime is not a showstopper anymore. So it's all about the requirements from this specific use case and how you can improve your device configuration and your solution configuration to this use case. From our customers, we also know that most of the returnable material handling, having a maintenance routine that is happening at least every 2 or 3 years. So maintaining the returnable asset is something that is already integrated into their process. So they are not worried about a very, very long lifetime at the end. They are more worried about that were worried in the past that the old GPS cellular tracking devices could not being shipped around for like 3 years worldwide. But this is something that is completely solved, and so it's not in the way anymore.
So, question for you: the precision of RTLS in meters. I know that you have some great examples about that.
Yeah, I mean, what the person here is saying that the precision of an RTLS system cannot be compared to what the precision of a IoT solution typically offer. I think Mathieu mentioned it, or Jérémy mentioned it in his presentation, that the typical accuracy is around 10 and sometimes even to 5 meters of precision. And also the timing accuracy is less dense than from a real-time localization system. But I think everyone have to keep in mind that the real-time localization system is a system that I can use to steer my autonomous forklifters to pick up pallets and autonomously transport them somewhere else. Where else the returnable asset tracking is something that is not requiring, the use case is not requiring that kind of precision, and is also not requiring that timing precision which an RTLS system can bring.
I will answer the question from Rémi of Skylab. So, do the trackers support multiple LoRaWAN networks, like Helium, for example? So today, specifically, you can do roaming using theme parks exchange between Helium and Actility or any other network server. It's totally possible, and we even do it currently. I can give you an example. We are currently working in a very nice use case in the city of New York, and we are at the same time on the public network of the city of New York City, and at the same time on Helium to extend the coverage. So typically, you see, we are using both networks to have a very nice coverage.
And I think that is definitely the future for
Exactly.
all global tracking use cases, to support multiple networks. And with the Semtech's newest LR1120, even frequency hopping will allow us to really send devices through the world, and the devices reconnecting in these specific frequencies.
Yeah, and maybe to complete this part, Stephane and Sebastian, if, for an example, you have different assets in different country and you want to use a different network, you can also dedicate one network to one country, for example, and after it's the application which will aggregate the data and aggregate the end dashboard. So you have different solutions, and generally we start from the final use case, and we help the user to choose the good architecture depending of different LoRa network or roaming solution.
Thank you, Jérémy. Another question for you, Jérémy. We discussed this recently, by the way. Martin is asking, we hear a lot about location in 5G, especially private 5G. Do you expect this to change things in a big way for you guys?
Yes.
Can you explain a little more maybe about 5G and the LTM?
The private 5G is clearly not the same cost to deploy than LoRa network. So deploy private 5G is clearly complicated to improve cost management on asset tracking. But on the other hand, if you deploy a private 5G, it's not necessary to deploy a specific LoRa antenna area. So yes, private 5G will be a very specific change for the coming years. I think it's the beginning, so we do not have a lot of material trackers which are working with this kind of technology, but it will change a lot. Because of a lot of it will change a lot the technical architecture. After, in terms of services, it will not change anything because the idea is to deliver asset tracking services and not asset tracking technology. Because when a customer wants to know where is an asset or how long is the time travel, he don't want to know if it's using 5G or LoRaWAN. But yes, it will impact a lot. But more generally, all the technology impact a lot, and I think IoT is a big mix of different technology in terms of trackers, in terms of connectivity, and we need to anticipate and to manage all the different technology. So, the challenge in the coming years will be to manage both LoRaWAN and private, because a few customers which will need of only asset tracking will continue to use LoRaWAN, and other customers which can use other services thanks to private 5G will use asset tracking through private 5G.
Thank you, Jérémy. And just as a reminder, NomoSense is currently offering private 5G solutions. Just to complete maybe this question, it's not one technology fits all. 5G will never consume as low battery as LoRaWAN. It's not at all equivalent. So in LoRaWAN, you will maybe not have a position every second, but you will have a lot more battery lifetime. So it's totally different use case at the end.
This is what I also wanted to underline. So I think 5G is the other side of the spectrum. So what we are all about is low data rate, low energy, long battery lifetime, low cost, and this is what this SD-WAN solutions are all about. Where 5G RTLS is all about high bandwidth, high speed, high timing, and I think this is why, at the end, I think it's not changing anything for us at all.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session and this webinar. Do not hesitate to contact any of the participants for more information. you could find on our website all the contacts, direct contacts, phone and emails. And you can also contact me directly by email or LinkedIn, and I can put you in relation. So great. Thanks to all the participants of today. Everybody agrees it was very interesting. So have a
Thanks, everyone.
nice day. See you soon.